How do you deal with a toxic family member who always starts trouble and constantly has this victim mentality?
What a fantastic question. I mean, think about it. How many people in this world have this problem of having a family member that's always starting trouble and you can't seem to stop it? The toxic family member, the troublemaker, the black sheep, the wounded person. My goodness, what do you do about them? I have got some secrets to tell you. I have some information about this that maybe no one's ever told you, and I can empower you to do something about this like no one else, because I have some tools that no one else has, that no one else can even imagine having, really. And if you can apply what I'm about to share with you in this video, you can literally change your whole family. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. This is legit. I can't wait to tell you. So let's just get into it, okay? In your family, if you have someone who is a total pain in the you-know-what, they most likely have negative programming inside of them. Negative thoughts and feelings inside of them that get expressed and get actualized in life. In other words, they might feel insecure, and then they act like a big, arrogant person because they actually don't feel confident, right? Or maybe they have a lot of anger inside from things that happened when they were a kid, and they fly off the handle really easily. Or maybe they have a lot of really bad feelings about who they are, and they don't know how to be a good person because they hate themselves. So they keep projecting this negativity out into the world and out onto you. The more that someone dislikes themselves, the more likely they are to be a jerk to those who are closest to them. I just covered a whole video on that, about how to get over being hard on yourself. And so a lot of times people that are close to you are bad to you because they hate themselves. I'll tell you a story, and then I'm going to break it down to a whole other level, and then I'm going to tell you a better story and break it down even more so you understand how you can change this problem permanently. So one story comes from Thanksgiving. And I was visiting this fantastic family, and I was sitting there at the table, and this gentleman that I've met a few times before, that's like the brother-in-law, so to speak, of someone that, they don't live there, but they came to visit. He's sitting at the table with me and one other person, and he says to me, "You have a brand new Mercedes, and you dress really nice, so you must be rich. I hate rich people. Rich people are greedy, and they just think money's important, and it's wrong." And I said, "Wow, thank you for sharing." And he said, "Well, don't you agree that it's wrong for you to have so much money?" And I said, "No, I don't agree, but I respect your opinion. I have my own opinion. I'd be happy to share it with you, but you're welcome to believe whatever you want. It's okay." Well, the rich people are always taking advantage of other people, and obviously it's wrong to be rich, and it's bad to have that much money, right? No, I don't really agree with you, but I respect your opinion. You're welcome to believe that if you want to. And he was really quiet. And I could see the other people in the family giving him the evil eye, like throwing daggers at him with their eyes because they were so mad that he was saying this to me. I mean, it might be considered really rude, right? And a lot of people in my place would have been super offended, but I wasn't offended at all. You see, when someone else tries to throw daggers at you or says something unkind to you, it only offends you if it pushes your button. And if you can learn how to erase your buttons, you might come to a place in your life where people don't push your buttons, or very rarely do they, because you've erased most of them, or even all of them. And I didn't have any buttons about what he was saying. It didn't push my buttons at all, because I erased them all already. It took years of hard work to get to this place where I could sit in front of him and love him unconditionally, despite him basically being a jerk to me. I didn't care. But most people would have been offended. I wasn't offended. I didn't care. I cleared all those buttons, and so there was just nothing there, but it's okay. I accept you the way you are. Obviously, he had issues with money. I feel sorry for him. You know, it sucks to have issues with money. Everyone deserves to have lots of money. Everyone deserves to have lots of money. It's good for you, and it's good for me, for you to have lots of money. Think about that. It's good for everyone for you to have lots of money. What's wrong with that? Then you can build a charity. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to do. So he just sat there quietly for a while because I wouldn't fight him and I wouldn't argue with him. I just told him it was okay. So finally he looks at me. I'm talking like 5 minutes later. He looks at me and he says, "You hate me, don't you?" And I said, "No, I don't hate you." And that confused him. I saw his face. He was confused. Because everyone else would have hated him for that. And I think he experienced that over and over again. People hating him for being a jerk. In fact, he's banned from another house, I heard. Another cousin, they won't let him come over because he did that to the head of the house. So he was banned. And I didn't care. I told him, no, I don't hate you. So then, I don't know how long ago it was, 10 minutes later, he says to me, I'm sorry about what I said. And I said, oh, it's okay. It's no big deal. And he's like, can I get you something to drink? And I said, no, that's okay. You don't have to do anything. And after that, whenever I had seen him, he never did it again. He stopped doing that. And apparently that was his modus operandis. That he did that with everybody all the time. Which is why they were all pissed off. Because there he goes again, being a troublemaker. And he stopped doing it. Now, this is an unusual situation. It's hard to repeat. He was healed, in a way, by unconditional love. And love can heal. Now, you can't try to do that. You actually have to have unconditional love in you, consciously and unconsciously. You have to erase all the judgment you feel inside of your unconscious mind, which means you have to get rid of all the programming, all of them, so that when someone throws that crap at you, nothing's there to get triggered and react out of you. Because even if you don't say it, people can feel it. And if there's really nothing there, no judgment at all, what they can feel is love and acceptance. And that broke his pattern, which was amazing. I'd never seen it before. I've never seen that before. And it was really a result of doing the work. Now, here's what you can do if you haven't gotten to that place yet. You can remember that your goal is unconditional love and work towards it. You might be thinking, how do I do that? You learn the 7 steps to reprogramming yourself and the 5-step emotional eraser. And you start erasing all of your judgment that you feel about this person in your family that's a big pain in the butt. Okay, for example, I know of a family, one guy and his sister took my training, and they took all the courses, 25 courses. They've taken pretty much everything. And they grew up in a difficult environment because their parents were refugees and went through a war. Their dad had PTSD and anger issues, and it was really bad, and understandably so. All of his siblings except for one were murdered. The 2 oldest kids starved to death during the war. I mean, it was a horrible tragedy that they went through. And as a result of that, there was a lot of arguing and anger and fighting and fear and panic in their childhood. And so the son, especially, the guy, had a lot of the anger and PTSD that his dad had in him, which makes sense because, we inherit from our parents their issues. Plus, they experienced it directly with their parents growing up. And the interesting thing was that as he erased his panic and he erased his anger, his dad started to mellow out. His dad started to change. And the rest of the family is saying, what's going on with dad? He's not angry anymore. Now he's just chill. He's mellow. What happened? And then the sister says, well, he's been erasing all of his PTSD and anger, and it seems like dad's is going away too. Now, this is really interesting. See, if you work on yourself, it can affect other people in your life that have the same issue, who have the same DNA as you. In fact, this same guy also had depression, and as he worked through that, he was no longer a lump on the couch, according to his sister, and started doing things like, hey, Mom, let me take out the trash. And then the weirdest thing happened. Dad started doing that too. So that's another way that you can affect someone else, is by working on yourself. Now, I'm going to give you 2 more. And that was actually a Ken and Seha's story. Now here's another one. Emrys and Sophia don't want to go home to Houston for Christmas because there's always fighting there. They don't want to be in the drama. But Sophia's grandfather's going to pass away, and they don't want to miss saying their final goodbye. So they go to Houston, and when they get there on the first day, what do you know? Drama, drama, drama. So they take aside the 2 women who seem to be the biggest instigators, one at a time. And they say, okay, Auntie, we want to try something with you to erase your anger that you feel right now. How do you feel about that? Sure, let's try it. And they erased her anger using the 7 steps to reprogramming yourself right there. And then they took the other auntie aside, did the same thing with her. And just 1 layer each was enough to end the drama. And for the entire rest of the holiday, there was no more fighting and drama. It was amazing. And I mean, can you imagine? So that's another thing you can do. Once you know the 7 steps, you can do it with someone and help erase their issues immediately. But do not come from a judgmental place when you do it. And so again, you have to work on yourself in order to actually help them. Now, these are the 3 most advanced ways in the order of most advanced to the simplest. Now let me share with you the simplest, easiest, fastest way to deal with someone like that. Hit them with a baseball bat. No, I'm just kidding. Come on. I just want to make sure you're watching. Make sure you're listening. No. What you're going to do is you're going to erase all your negative feelings you feel about them. Yeah. You're going to erase all of your negative feelings about them. And that is going to affect them so much that they might completely change. I'll give you an example, okay? In the last 7 steps to reprogramming yourself, really recently, just a few months ago, this amazing girl in Chrissy's in the course. She's a professional photographer. She's very vivacious, and she has this great personality, and she's really fun. And during the first round of clearing, she was a little bit stuck. And she raised her hand, and I came over to help. And I said, what can I do? And she said, well, my problem isn't that I have something to work on. My problem is that my husband, finger being pointed, is really negative. And I don't see how working on myself is going to affect him. I said, well, how do you feel about your husband being so negative? And she said, I'm really angry. I said, well, working on your anger may or may not affect your husband, but at least you'll feel better. Well, that's kind of hard to argue with, isn't it? And I said, would you like to get rid of your anger forever and feel better, regardless of how it affects your husband? She said, yeah, I could do that. So we erased her anger, and she cleared the whole thing. That was on Saturday, the second day of the course, because she missed the first day, which is a big no-no, but she had to go to this massive film shoot. So what can you say? She watched the video of the first day and came in person on the second day. What a smart woman. I love it. So on Sunday, she comes in the morning and she says, I have to tell everyone something. So she gets up there in front of the whole room. We give her the mic, and she says the whole story that I told you up till now. And then she says, so after class, my husband and I were supposed to go to a concert. And I was prepared. I was bracing myself for him being negative, as usual. But we're in the car, and I'm sort of dancing and singing, because I like to do that. And I'm thinking he's thinking something bad about me. And I turn to him and say, I'm a dork, right? And her husband turns to her and says, no, you're just so beautiful. And she said that in 10 years of marriage, he never said that to her once. Not once. They had a total blast the whole night. And she went to bed thinking, I can't believe that he changed. He's not being negative anymore. Well, it must have just been just like a fluke. I'm sure tomorrow he'll be back to normal. The next day, she's getting dressed up. And he says to her, oh, getting dressed up for another guy, huh? She's like, oh, here we go again. And she says, yeah, definitely. And he's like, well, hope you have fun at your class. I'm wearing my scrubs because I'm going to go out, or my dirty clothes. I'm going to go mow the lawn. Have a good time. She's like, oh my God, he's still not being negative. When I forgot one part. Minutes after she erased the anger, he texted her, hey, I love you. And she said he never ever did that. In fact, she stopped texting him because he stopped responding. These people didn't even talk by text at all. And out of the blue, he texted her, and I love you, right after she finished erasing her anger about him being so negative. Now, I can tell you examples like this for hours. I mean, hours and hours and hours of real students on my real stage telling stories like that. That was just from the very last one, the very most recent course. And her video is on my YouTube channel. Watch it. It's Christy. And there's a whole bunch of stories like that of when you work on yourself by erasing how the other person is pushing your buttons, and your buttons are gone, it deactivates. It turns off their button, their energy. It doesn't mean that they don't have the issue. They just don't have it with you anymore. Now, it might be then that they're still that way with everyone else, just not you. And you can laugh and enjoy the fact that you're not bothered and they don't act that way around you anymore or with you. But you can then continue to affect change in your family by using the 7 steps to reprogramming yourself. Have your family members take the training with you. And that's how you can deal with someone in your family that is unbearable and a pain in the butt. You might have noticed I didn't say anything about talking to them or about working on them or yelling at them or making rules with them. I just talked about doing the real work on the inside that actually affects change, permanent change. My name is Arnoux Goran. This is my YouTube channel. I hope you'll subscribe. If you want to learn more about the 7 steps to reprogramming yourself, which I've just told you is like the big key, click on the link below and learn more about it. I have some free webinars I'd love for you to take and just get some more information. It'd be so fantastic if you could post a testimonial about how this video worked for you in your home, in your family, because that would help other people to realize that what I'm saying is absolutely the truth. I'll see you soon.